For Tuesday, the 29th of August, I'm Randy Katarey. This is What's Up the Sports podcast. Thank you, as always, if you are joining us live via Twitter Spaces, watching on YouTube, or if you've downloaded tonight's episode via your favorite podcatcher. We are going to go heavy on the NFL and basketball, both the NBA and the FIBA World Cup, which is taking place in Philippines, Indonesia, and so on. But really excited to introduce tonight's Roundtable. Familiar face, of course, to What's Up the Sports podcast is Neel Katarey. Neel, how are you?
Good, thanks, Randy. Good to be here again, man. Good to see you. Good to see you guys.
And joining us for the first time are two members of tonight's roundtable. First is the co-host of the Voice of the Fans Sportscast, Ronnie R.C. Clark, is joining us this evening. Ronnie, what's going on?
Man, everything's good. Salute here from Mississippi. Glad to be on.
Yeah, no, really excited, and greetings from Toronto, Canada. And passing my greetings as well as the host of the Voice of the Fans Sportscast. You can find Voice of the Fans Sportscast at VOF Sportscast on Instagram and YouTube. The host is Ben Swift Reynolds, joining us, as RC said, from the great state of Mississippi. Swift, thank you so much. Really excited for tonight. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yes, thank y'all for allowing me to come on with y'all tonight and discuss some sports. That's what we do best, and I can't wait to get to it.
So, Neel, before we get started, I have, as you may know, Neel started this podcast in 2019, and I really had the chance to interview some people. And the joy of this kind of platform is that we get to meet people from really all over the world. But I mean, Neel, from your professional or your personal life, how many times have you cut it up with people from the state of Mississippi?
Well, ask me in an hour, and the answer is going to be 2, and them names are going to be Swift and RC. But it's good to know you guys, man. You guys seem like great guys and know your sports. I listened to part of one of your episodes that Randy shared with me, so it was all good stuff. Updated my own running back rankings off of what y'all was saying a little bit, so thank you for that, and let's get into it.
Problem.
I mean, Swift, I know that you have had the podcast for some time, and
yeah.
Is it the first time you're talking sports with a couple Canadians?
Yes, most definitely, first time. So, congrats to y'all. I love what sports do, is bring everybody together. I never thought I'd be talking to a couple guys from Canada. So.
Yeah, I mean, RC, you are talking to a couple Canadians, so I mean, how versed are you in hockey? I mean, are you able to keep up with a couple of Canucks here?
So I just got into hockey, man. I got a friend that's in New York, and he's a gamer, and he put me on some hockey games. I'm getting versed in and learning about hockey. The first time I played the video game, I actually was like, I guess the newness of it made me, I was intrigued by it. So now I'm starting to take a liking to it and watching it on TV, and hopefully one day I get a chance to go to a game and experience the whole atmosphere. So I'm always open to new stuff.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so off the top of my head, I'm thinking that Nashville is probably the closest. Yeah, sorry, you guys are in Jackson, or would it be
Pedal?
We're closer to. We have a hockey team in New Orleans, on the Gulf Coast. It's I don't think it's
really.
It's a minor league. It's a minor league team on the coast, and then you have the Predators in Nashville, and Atlanta has the Thrashers. So
they did, I mean, they moved a number of years ago, but they've been in Winnipeg since 2011. It's been a number of years.
Okay, so way behind.
I mean, they've been gone, and it appears to be forgotten.
Right.
Yeah, so it's not much hockey going down here, so we stuff still by us, as you can see.
No. Hey, for sure. But no, guys, thank you so much for joining us, and maybe not talk so much about hockey this evening, but definitely love to talk about Voice of the Fans. And taking a look, Swift, at your Instagram channel and so on, notice that you really do go heavy on football and basketball. And I mean, like, is that more so representative of the state of Mississippi and, what sports fans in your particular state are into? Or is it more so speaking to what, gets you going sports-wise?
Yeah, I would say a little bit of both. We are a big football state. As you know, we produce Jerry Rice and Walter Payton, some legends. So we definitely into our high school football, college, and it really boils down to also with what can we get down here on television. Mm-hmm. So that's what it really boils down to. I love baseball. I used to watch baseball all the time, but WGN was bought out, so that cut out watching baseball for me. I'm a Cubs fan, so that's how I used to get my Cubs game. And ever since then, it was just hard for us to get other sports on TV because, people just forget about Mississippi. They're like, it is what it is, but that's the whole setup. But we do love football.
Yeah, no, and that goes without saying. I mean, Mississippi State, Ole Miss, yeah, it definitely goes hand in hand. And I do have to say, RC, I mean, over the years, and I could definitely appreciate myself and Neel that when people outside of our country of Canada, when they think about sports, first and foremost is hockey. And the same could be said with regards to the United States and football. I mean, it's so incredibly popular, and it really is the lifeblood of sports in the United States. But outside of football and basketball, I mean, do you see a sport that may be on the rise in Mississippi that aren't those two sports that maybe people within your state are getting more interested in and are participating a little bit more by chance?
Soccer's taking off in Mississippi. Actually, I coach youth basketball, some football, and whenever we're out there playing, we see soccer. Soccer's taking off in Mississippi and other states as well. So that's something that's on the rise in Mississippi. I would say soccer.
And I mean, I could appreciate that Florida is not overly close to Mississippi, but I mean, obviously Lionel Messi is kind of like a stone's throw away, lack of a better term, in Miami, and he's just been absolutely killing it right now. Like in your neck of the woods, I mean, do sports fans appreciate what's been happening in Miami with Lionel Messi and Inter Miami and just MLS in general?
I would say yes. I've been to bars. I've been around people who like soccer and the way they talk about it and the way they talk about him. It's big here, man. It's growing. It's bigger than I thought. I've learned over the years to get outside of my football and basketball box and listen to other people and watch other sports and learn. And I would say yes. It's actually he's like their Michael Jordan, and they talk about him a lot. And I'm starting to realize like he's that guy. Actually, I don't watch a lot of soccer, but I'm starting to get into that as well. And I'm a gamer as well, so I try to get into the gamer side of it and learn it, and then it draws me to it on television. So I learn through the gaming system, whatever. That's how I learned about the other sports.
I mean, I could definitely appreciate that. Me and Neel, maybe a few years older than you two, and we were young teenagers when World Cup '94 took place in the United States. And for me, I started to get into soccer with the Sega Genesis FIFA 1994 video game and everything. Everything's kind of skyrocketed since. And I mean, especially these days, which, maybe we'll chat about a little later on. But, Neel, I mean, obviously the United States, there's such an emphasis with regards to the United States as Canadians, from sports, from business, and so on. With the various sports leagues that our local teams are a part of, the majority of teams in said league are in the U.S. But obviously we are seeing a huge shift in terms of sports and enrollment and so on. RC is saying soccer in Mississippi, and we could definitely attest to the fact that soccer's taking off here in Canada. But from your observations, with regards to the United States, it just seems, as mentioned before, that football and basketball are maybe 1 and 1A, if you want to throw in baseball as well. But is there a sport that you are a little surprised that really hasn't taken off in America?
Well, the first thing I want to say is God bless America, because I'm not the typical Canadian that's all about hockey and this and that, man. I love my NBA.
Right.
I love my NFL. That's my thing. So I almost consider myself an American when it comes to my sports, what I'm into, what I love. And I'm just so happy that we got teams close to, or, I'm a Bills fan, I'm a Raptors fan, so we got it locked down here. But that was where my preferences lie. But I can't say as far as sports that should be maybe more popular in the States. I'm not going to say hockey. I'm not going to say soccer, because I think both of those do have a solid level of popularity. Baseball obviously is up there next to basketball and football. But, when I was thinking about it, one sport that I think actually would in a maybe a future world, when the world, as it becomes a more streaming based service where we ain't going to rely too much on what's on cable, what the networks are telling us. We can get anything we want. It's all going to be a subscription world in the near future. And sports fans are going to have access to all of this different content from the world around. And there's going to be a lot of, I think, people getting into different things outside of their usual, let's say, comfort zone when it comes to sports. And one of the things I think may appeal to Americans, Canadians, that maybe isn't so popular here is cricket as a sport. The reason I say that is because cricket has actually used to be unbearable. You couldn't sit there because these games would go on for 2 days in a row. I mean, they're taking tea breaks every few hours and stuff. That doesn't vibe with when you want the fast-paced action. But when they changed the rules, now they have an entire World Cup dedicated to what's called a T20, which means the game itself is 1/3 of the size, and it makes it so much more exciting. The game itself, it has a lot of baseball characteristics to it. Some of the things that make baseball appealing, the big hits, the big moments, the athletic dives and catches, those exist in cricket, and it's hugely popular out there in the East. But imagine a baseball game that only had 4 innings, an MLB game that only had 4 innings. It would not be as long, but that would be a very exciting sport if every game just came down to 4 innings. It's just that 20 overs in cricket still is longer than a 9-inning baseball game. But imagine how much it was when it was 3 times the size. So I think cricket is something that may have a potential somewhere down the line, not only in the U.S., but more on a world stage. And then I was thinking about, what about the league? And I got to say the CFL, man. Canadian pride over here. I love football. I think the CFL is vastly underrated, because we're talking about The Rock trying to prop up XFL. We got arena football. No. After the NFL is way up here, and then everything else is down here. I can't even put my hand low enough. But above all that muck at the bottom, the CFL is definitely above everything else. And I think it deserves a little more respect. It's fast-paced. Sure. These guys, they play hard. They play fast. It's high-scoring. And it's full of great Division I college athletes and players, man. It's good football. Just, it's almost like the big three, you could consider it, of football as what the big three is to the NBA. It fills that need for the sport in the summer if you need that.
Interesting.
Yeah, interesting.
Sorry, Swift, go ahead.
Oh yeah, I was about to say, back when I was a teenager, Canadian football was shown, on our TV. So I don't know what happened if the NFL split with them. God, they used to partner with NFL. They used to send NFL players to CFL. They used to pick players from the CFL. So I really don't know what happened between those two organizations over the years. But so you brought it up, I thought CFL went away, to be honest.
No, it's still
yeah, I thought they went away.
I'm
glad to hear they're still around. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, I see it on ESPN.
Well, truthfully, as we are in Toronto, and Toronto is the biggest, it's pretty much the center of the country with regards to sports, entertainment, business, and anything. But the CFL doesn't really draw flies in Toronto. Like the rest of the league, well, Vancouver struggles here and there. Montreal is not doing too great. It is unfortunate. I mean, it's been around 120 plus years, but I think, I definitely think that CFL has kind of lost its ways in Toronto. I definitely don't think that the NFL will be coming to Toronto ever, but
Hey, you never know. Y'all might get one.
Never. They keep
going
in London.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I do have to say though, guys, and this would be a great comparison because, for a guy like myself who's in my mid-40s, I don't have kids, but I don't know a single parent who is my age with teenage kids who are enrolled in football. I don't know a single one. Like, how about you two? I mean, do you guys is like pop football? Is that still popular? Like
yes. More than ever. My son right now, he playing high school ball. I have another younger son playing flag. I don't want him playing tackle just yet, just until he get of age a little bit, let his brain, develop and everything. Then he gonna put him in tackle. But parents still going hard for pop football. You seeing highlights of these kids making plays, like they glorify this kid on YouTube. He having TikTok videos, so it's profound right now. It's at a major high because of social media. So all these young kids are getting their shine on, getting put out there. So these parents, they go hard for these kids in pop.
Yeah, I mean, and I was gonna ask guys, and I'm really intrigued where you guys think football will be 15, 20 years from now. And the reason why I ask this is because, as Canadians, Neel and I, we have seen a reluctance of parents putting their kids into hockey. I mean, concussions are a real thing. I mean, we're seeing a number of instances. I mean, hey, you take a look at Mike Webster, you take a look at Junior Seau, and hockey had a string of players who did commit suicide, a couple years ago. And obviously, I'm not saying it's going to happen tomorrow. Because the NFL is still so popular. But I mean, RC, like if you had to sort of fast forward yourself a decade, 2 decades, do you think football is still going to be as popular as it is today?
Well, I'm old enough to, I'm 42 years old. So I'm old enough to remember the hits that Ronnie Lott and, Junior Seau and Lawrence Taylor was giving out. I remember football from that era and football now. Evolution is happening. I would say 15 years from now, we're watching football now where they can barely touch one another. I think 15 more years from now might be flag football.
They can be wearing pillows and helmets, RC.
Yeah. I think the game of, you can't take the head out of football. I know people are always talking about getting your shoulder out and tackling with your shoulder versus your head, but your head is connected to your body, your shoulders, and so you'll never be able to alleviate or take away the head part of it. And I think guys are thinking more now than they ever thought when they get ready to make a tackle. So I think you'll see the product gets worse because the players are thinking more about what they're doing. And so I really feel like the game gets, in my opinion, it gets a lot less physical, but it's always going to be a physical sport.
Right.
But it's progressing towards almost flag football to me, I think. Touch football.
RC, help me out here. I'm actually watching a preseason game for the Saints. And correct me if I'm wrong. I won't try to explain the rules, but they're trying to eliminate kickoffs, right? So I think if they fair catch the football inside the 20, so they catch it at the 5 or 10, they automatically get the ball to 25. So I don't know if y'all ever noticed they've been doing squeal kicks, because they don't want the team to get the ball at the 25. They fair catch it. So the NFL, they trying to limit all these concussions because I forgot the stat, but they said a lot of concussions happen on kickoffs. So that's where they're going.
Well, I guess whatever it takes to elevate the safety of these players, because I mean, sure, let's call it what it's an exciting game, but I mean,
guys,
it's a gladiator sport.
I don't mean to cut you off. It's impossible. I played the sport. You guys, I don't know if I think Ben played the sport. It's impossible if I'm running full speed at Ben, for me not to, it's a contact sport. Unless you just gonna be touching each other now, it's impossible for it not to be a contact sport. But I think for the NFL to remain what it is, you have to have a level of contact. You have to, physicality. You have to have it.
But I feel like the NFL is shooting themselves in the foot because one of the most exciting things about football are the kickoffs. When you see a kick returner take it all the way, that's the most exciting thing, in my opinion, in football. I mean, you can't beat the excitement, especially for a win.
Neil,
those Devin Hester records not getting broken anytime soon. Today's game.
Neil, I'd love to get your thoughts on this one, and I hate to put you on the spot like this, but with your medical background, I'd love to ask you, because a lot of people do think that the equipment itself enhances the injury. And I mean, like, take a look at a sport like rugby, and I don't know if you know the numbers off the top of your head, but if you were to assume in terms of like injury, devastating injury and impact and all that stuff, because of that equipment, is there more of an impact and more of a devastating injury for a football player as opposed to rugby?
It's an interesting question, but the fact is that in football, the direct nature of these hits and the velocity and the force, speed times velocity, or whatever the equation is, the force of these impacts, the directness of these impacts is not like any other sport. Like, rugby is a sport that's physical. It's definitely a man's sport, just like football. And they're physical more so to the body. It's not like heads are flying at each other and heads are flying into places where their necks are getting cranked. Their heads are taking on major whiplash injury into the brain over and over because, from what I know about not only football, but, there's a lot of concussions, believe it or not, that happen in soccer too, with guys headbutting the ball, long balls coming in, and they're really slamming that head into that ball, trying to put it in the net or wherever they want to put it. A lot of the concussions that you see, a lot of the micro concussions, not just the macro, the big ones, it's the micro ones, the ones that happen on the plays where the guy doesn't look frazzled, where he's not on the ground needing medical attention. It's the one where he gets up like Ray Lewis and does his dance, but Ray Lewis on that play just went toe-to-toe, or the D-line, O-line smashed into each other on every single snap. These guys are smashing into each other. And it's those little hits, the helmet to the body, helmet to the helmet. It adds up. It's an additive thing. It's not that it just happens here and there.
Right.
And that's why you're seeing that it's mostly the O-line, mostly the D-line, these guys that go in with their head, the guys that, in the NFL, it's a business. And professional sports like this, it's a business. They've been doing it their whole life, number one. So they already have that track record. They already got that sort of the damage that's built up. But now, to separate yourself from the rest, you go as hard as you possibly can. That competitive nature makes you go as hard as you can. And in the moment, you're not thinking about your future. You're thinking about that play. You're thinking about stopping the guy in front of you for the betterment of your team, and you worry about whatever else comes later. And it's unfortunate because the education, the stats, the CTE research wasn't there before. And, I think that it's just the nature, as these guys were alluding to, it's the nature of the beast, that you cannot have a sport like football without the consequences of contact that may come with it. And I think the NFL is certainly doing things to, one will say it's making the game softer, but they're also making rule changes that these softening rules are making the game faster, more offensive oriented, just like the NBA is undergoing changes from the old days, the Michael Jordan days. LeBron James, as much as you want to say between him and Michael Jordan, LeBron has not played in the physical era that Michael Jordan played in. And that is one thing that I put when I say Michael Jordan's the true GOAT, in my opinion. But LeBron is close by. And, so the game is changing. The NFL is changing. Concussions and long-term damage will always keep on happening. But, what they're doing is they're trying to reduce that.
Yeah.
It's changing the game.
And it does seem that, obviously these players do know what they are getting into because surprise, surprise, football's a dangerous game. But Swift RC, I appreciate. I mean, I know that you guys usually do talk about the X's and O's of the game, and we're going to get to that in a second. But really do appreciate that kind of chat to start things off. And I mean, hey, lo and behold, in just over a week, the NFL season is going to kick. And I can imagine how jacked you two are.
Yes, we are pumped.
Leading up to tonight's episode, Swift, you did mention that you pledge allegiance to the New Orleans Saints, and
that nation.
Yeah, and very quickly, as I do have something to show you here, because this is who I kind of like here. Yeah.
Oh my goodness! He got the throwback.
So I do pledge allegiance to the Buccaneers, but
how did that happen? How did that happen?
You know what? Okay, so straight up, this is the deal. So I got introduced to football with NFL Primetime, the highlights here, and I was a big fan of not only the helmet, but when Chris Berman always had those Buccaneers highlights, and he always talked Vinny Testaverde and Eric Bieniemy. Bieniemy especially, because I thought the last name sounded cool. Okay, so then and this is when they were playing in the big sombrero, and then I started to gravitate towards Sterling Sharp, and again, I'm not a diehard football guy, but I actually have been to a couple of Buccaneers games, and like last year. Well, actually, check this out. I went to Jameis Winston's last Bucs game. It was what was it, week 17, and
then you throw like 5 interceptions or something like that.
I don't know how many interceptions, but he did throw a pick six in overtime, and like it was. But then I caught the last season when they clinched the playoff spot against Carolina, and that was just wild. It was on New Year's Day, and it was just incredible. But I think I mentioned to you that I am going to be in New Orleans, and I'm really bummed that I'm not able to see the Saints. Saints are playing Houston when I'm down there. But anyway, we're kind of getting off track here. But I'd love to get your thoughts from the three of you, because Neel's a big football fan. He is a Bills guy, and was wondering, and Swift, we'll start with you. Who do you think who's impressed you the most this offseason with regards to preparing for the upcoming year, the acquisitions that took place?
Believe it or not, Aaron Rodgers. He's doing it at his old age. I mean, he's like a kid in the candy shop with the Jets, man. He all happy-go-lucky. He's skipping around in practice. So, yeah, Aaron Rodgers, he impresses me. He making them young guys look like studs, and I feel like the Jets are going to be a formidable team. And alone Aaron Rodgers can stay upright, man, they're going to be a tough team to beat for sure. So I'm not even an Aaron Rodgers guy, so that's saying a lot. Like I really don't like Aaron Rodgers. I'm just put it bluntly. So but I'm high on him this year. He might be in a run for MVP. I'm gonna say that.
Really? Yeah. You think so, Neel? Neel, what do you think? I mean, like I was going to touch on Aaron Rodgers a little later on, but since Swift brought it up, I mean, we have seen this before where, a guy like Joe Montana goes from San Fran to KC, and, I didn't make it to a playoff game. But, hey, I mean, if you ask me, Peyton Manning is more so an Indianapolis Colt, and he did win a Super Bowl with Denver. So you think Aaron Rodgers can have the remotely some sort of success in New York like he did in Green Bay?
Oh, well, he's an all-time great. He's an all-time legend. So, of course, he has the ability. Will he, though? Well, one might say that he was showing signs of decline last year after a couple of MVP seasons, a legendary career, first ballot, no question. But, he followed in Brett Favre's footsteps the whole way through, man. He won 1 Super Bowl with Green Bay, was a legend in Green Bay, all that. Went to the Jets, and then what happened? Hey, man, look, a lot of people, and this is the best thing about the Aaron Rodgers acquisition to the Jets for me. As a Bills fan, he's taken all the attention off my team. It's all about this Aaron Rodgers hype train, Aaron Rodgers. I love it because you know what? The Bills had the hype train last year, and I'll get into this later. It didn't work out for us. So I like that we're flying under the radar a little bit. Look, man, you can say what you want. Aaron Rodgers got a great defense in New York. Mm-hmm. He got a great set of receivers, and now they got a couple great running backs. They got a young guy, Breece Hall. They got a vet in Dalvin. But he probably got the worst O-line that he's had in probably maybe his whole career. He don't got his guy Bakhtiari there. There's other guys that he just doesn't mesh with, and they're, from what I'm seeing, that there's a little bit of work to be done there. So will he, the old man, withstand that? We're going to see.
Well, RC, I mean, like, you seem to be nodding your head on this, and I mean, Aaron Rodgers is a 39-year-old cat.
Here we go.
40. He's going to be joining. He's going to be joining me in Club 40 in December. And I mean, like, if the O-line is as bad as Neel says it is, I mean, like, a 39-year-old guy can't really repair like a 29-year-old guy. Do you think that Aaron Rodgers can do it in New York?
I like Neel already. Neel, I got something I want to show you, buddy. So right there, that's Brett Favre in the New York Jets uniform.
Man,
right? You guys see that? Okay,
wow. Wow.
So
Batting curse is real.
Neel hit the nail right on the head. This guy's following Brett Favre's footsteps, and he's gonna follow it right out the league the same way. I'm a 49er fan. Everybody went through the room and saying who they represent. I represent the game, the Niner game, and we got Aaron Rodgers' number. I watched Jimmy Garoppolo beat Aaron Rodgers in Lambeau Field and didn't score an offensive touchdown. We beat him on a block punt, and we scored a defensive touchdown. We didn't score an offensive touchdown against the great Aaron Rodgers. Then the year before that, Jimmy Garoppolo threw 8 passes, and we get to the Super Bowl off of 8 passes against Aaron Rodgers again. So my thing is, it was against the Vikings, but we rushed for 240 yards against Aaron Rodgers again. I don't believe in Aaron Rodgers. I believe that Aaron Rodgers is a regular season guy. He's John Stockton, Karl Malone in the regular season, get to the playoff, epic fail. So, going to New York, change the scenery, got all these different weapons, but chemistry matters. Buffalo's been together for a while. Miami's going to be going into their second year. The Patriots won't be as bad, and he is in the toughest division. He's in the toughest conference in football. The AFC is loaded. So if he comes out of there, I mean, hey, salute to him, but I don't see it happening. So
just stay tuned. That's all you need to do, RC. Yeah, just stay tuned, RC.
He runs that gauntlet. I give him out. And listen, he runs that gauntlet. I give him high praise. That's a gauntlet.
All right.
I mean, sorry, please go ahead.
I was just like, they touch on the O-line. I think that's why they signed Dalvin Cook, because if they actually can get the running game, they're going to actually help out the O-line a lot.
How?
That's a good point.
Huh?
Good point. That's a fair point.
What do you mean how?
So
it's not the running game that they're going to have struggle. It's the pass blocking.
Right.
And I think that's why they brought in Dalvin, to mix things up. To run different screen passes, to spread people out, try to get the ball as quick as possible. Remember Tom Brady went with the Bucs? Man, they didn't want Tom Brady to get touched at all. The O-line wasn't that great. He had Tristan Wirth, but the O-line wasn't just spectacular.
Listen,
so they still got the ball out as fast as they possibly could.
This is Michael Jordan going to the Wizards.
Hey, Brady, hold on, stop that.
Tom Brady is an exception to the rule. We put an asterisk beside Brady. We put him over there. Brady is a different type of leader.
Come on,
than Aaron Rodgers. We know Rodgers is. Last year I watched him turn on his teammates. I mean, I watched him complain and whine about not having this and not having that. You got to understand, bro. You got everything now, but the only thing about it is you left a conference. The NFC is weak. The AFC is strong. So if you get out of the first round, let's say you win your division and you get the bye week, you're going to have to eventually face Burrow or Jackson or Wilson or Allen again. You're going to have to see these guys to get to the Super Bowl. So, and it's the Super Bowl or bust. I just don't see him.
Shouldn't it be the other way around, though, RC?
No,
they got to face Aaron Rodgers.
Did you hear me tell
you stuck on
No, listen.
Aaron Rodgers got to face them. How about they got to face Aaron Rodgers?
Did you hear me tell you that he lost to Jimmy Garoppolo and
Yeah,
Jimmy
I heard
Garoppolo
you. Went right the other ear. I heard you, but let him bring just like that.
I'm gonna say this about Tom Brady is that he ran the AFC East for them 2 decades, but all the other teams weren't nothing. Buffalo just started coming up. Now you get a taste of Josh Allen, and boom, I gotta find the weakest conference in the league to run to, and he went to the weakest conference.
Yes,
it was the NFC South. Ran that thing up for a Super Bowl. And hey, man, you got to give it up to Tom Brady because he's a football player, but he's also a tactician, and he did that right. He tacticianed his way to a weak conference, weak division, got a Super Bowl out of it.
Right, and we're not even talking about the Miami Dolphins. We haven't even talked about the Miami Dolphins. That team is loaded. Yep. So my thing is, we asking Aaron Rodgers to go do something he couldn't do in the NFC.
He's going to be the hardest division he's ever played in this year.
Right.
He ain't never played in a harder the NFC North.
There are no Bears.
NFC North has never been as hard as the AFC East will be this year for Aaron Rodgers.
Right. There are no Bears, there are no Vikings, there are no Lions.
There are no Lions.
There are no cockroaches. There are real teams.
But I mean, RC, you're talking about the Dolphins there, and I'm wondering if Tua is gonna be able to make it. I mean, like he was on fire in the beginning, and then of course he had a devastating injury, and then I mean it made the traditional news. I mean, like with how he got hurt, and I mean, all things seem to for the Dolphins to have success is for Tagovailoa, and like, do you think that they are going to be able to protect him enough and make a run to the playoffs?
I'm worried about Tua because there's a rumor or some source said he was learning how to fall. Now, this is a football player who falls frequently. You just advance in your career, you're learning how to fall, how to take a sack. Like, in the league now, you can't fall on the quarterback. You got to kind of fall on him and fall to the side. Well, that means he's thinking about how to fall down. They have a class you can take. It's like me taking a class on how to,
with the senior citizens.
Right. Just like basically like me taking a class on how to do something I can naturally know how to do. And so I'm worried about that because now he's in his own head, and I saw him the press conference really offensive about what Ryan Clark said about him. So he is the key to that whole situation. I'm hoping and praying that he's able to overcome all that situation with the concussions, but all signs point that's not going to work out because, like we talked about earlier, football is a very physical sport, and at some point somebody's going to get home. And what I mean by getting home, somebody's going to have a free run at it, and it could be over with. But I hope he's able to just, if he's talking about falling, just concede to the sack, go down like you see guys did in the past and running out of bounds, stuff like that. So we'll see.
I mean, I'd be remiss, RC, if I didn't ask you about your 49ers. And of course, Brock Purdy had a really great run. I mean, from a non-hardcore football guy. But obviously the year before when the Niners drafted Trey Lance, there was a lot of hype, but there was a lot of comments swirling around Trey Lance, and he is now on his way to Dallas. How surprised were you that Trey Lance and that experiment didn't work out in San Francisco?
I wasn't surprised. I watched those guys. I've been out there. I'm really a fan. And I really Ben hit it on the head earlier by his throwing motion. The kid hasn't played enough football. And so I think what happens is, and I said this on our podcast, that the talking heads like Todd McShay and Mel Kiper, they talk these guys up and down the draft board. And if you listen to them long enough, you'll believe the hype in some of the players that they talk about. And he was one of the guys they talked up. North Dakota State traditionally have had Carson Wentz, Easton Stick, and also Trey Lance, injury-prone players. Very, I feel like They got a history of injury players that get injured. And when Trey Lance situation, he was drafted to a team that already was Super Bowl ready. That team had just lost in the Super Bowl to the Chiefs, and then they go up and they get a quarterback because Jimmy was always injured. So they really drafted him as an insurance policy, just in case Jimmy would never be back fully healthy. But Jimmy does get healthy, and he starts over Trey, and it's just this kid just needs to play. I don't understand the move to Dallas because now he's sitting behind Dak Prescott and Cooper Rush, but he still needs to play. So the longer he goes without playing football, I think he don't get any better. But I saw it coming, man. The writing was on the wall. First year he got injured. Second year he got injured. And then Brock Purdy emerged and never looked back. So I was not shocked, man, because kid is very raw and he hadn't played enough football.
And you mentioned Dak Prescott here, and Swift, why don't you educate me on what Dak Prescott is? I mean, he.
Well, I'm gonna start off with this. He's a top 10 quarterback. That was Dak. He almost won MVP, if it wasn't for the injury. So he's a leader. I thought it was a stupid move by Dallas, trading for Trey Lance, who probably won't even touch the field, because, like you said, they got Cooper Rush there and they got Will Greer there. So he got to be out them two guys in order to get a starting job. But I feel like Dak, he get too much hate, man. Like, it's not always his fault. Man, we saw him go from Mark McCarthy, he had Mark McCarthy now, to different OCs. He had young Kellen Moore, who didn't really know what he was doing. He had Jason Garrett, the clapper. I mean, Dak has a bad play, but he stayed clapping. Like, what are you clapping for, man? Y'all just turned the ball over. Like, he had no clue what's going on. So Dak had a team and coaches that really just didn't know how to put together a game plan, especially when the playoffs came. They relied too much on him instead of going to the running game. So I feel like Dak just get a lot of hate because first of all, he played for Dallas Cowboys. So that's another reason why people gonna hate him regardless. But I think he's a true baller. I want him on the Saints if he was a free agent.
Yeah, I mean, I guess with me, Dak Prescott is in that particular category of a huge name, not a lot of accolades and success. I mean, off the top of my head, I'm thinking of guys like Justin Herbert. I'm thinking of guys like Phillip Rivers. I'm thinking of I had another one off the top of my head. But there's always a group of quarterbacks especially, who have Tony Romo. That was the one off of as well. And that they just have this name, but Neel, they don't really have the wherewithal and the experience and the history of getting to the conference championship game, let alone the Super Bowl. I mean, is Dak going to figure it out one of these days?
Well, I'll say this about the NFL, is that a quarterback by himself cannot win a Super Bowl, but a team cannot win a Super Bowl without a good quarterback. It's very rare in any case. Like, you got the Bucks in 2002 with Brad Johnson. Even when the Ravens won that 1 year, Flacco had to turn into Peyton Manning for them to do it. You really have to have that superstar QB, or you really have to be a rare elite team like the Ravens 2000. They had Trent Dilfer, good game manager, but they had everything else on point. The Niners, if they are going to win a Super Bowl, RC, they're going to be in that category of, Brock Purdy's not a world beater, but he's a solid QB, and they got everything else working elitely. That's going to be their formula. So when it comes to Dak, I will say that I agree with RC. He's a disappointment. Swift, like, I got to say, this guy just has not met the hype. He's what I would say a regular season QB. He just doesn't turn it up when the right moment. He's had a couple good early round playoff games, but he just doesn't do it in the divisional round. And I think that the Lance move actually was a decent move, only for the purpose that, if Lance can take a couple of years and learn, and Dak is not the type of guy that Jerry Jones is rushing to hand out another contract to, well, then you take the risk and you try to upgrade at all the other positions and hope that Lance shows some promise, because maybe that's the best strategy for them going forward. It's a reasonable move, and they paid pennies on the dollar compared to what the Niners paid. And you're sitting here thinking, RC, like, what if they just got Micah Parsons or one of these other guys that you see that list that's come out of all the guys that were drafted after Trey Lance in the first round? It's incredible. It's full of all pros, multi-time future all pros. And but that's the nature of the NFL, and I think it was a pretty good move by Dallas, considering the risk that they put into it.
Let me piggyback on that real quick, man. I posed this question in a group that I'm in, and I said the National Football League has did the quarterback position, the running back position, a disservice and overhyped the quarterback position, because how many highly paid? You got a league full of highly paid quarterbacks, and the only quarterback that has rings outside of Brady is Mahomes. Everybody else is just paid. And you made a point about having an elite team. All the Super Bowl teams, they were a great team. Like the quarterback play, like last year, I watched Mahomes and Jalen Hurts not get touched. It was the first Super Bowl I ever watched, and there was not an offensive holding call. That was weird to me. You got the Eagles with 70 sacks on the year, and the Chiefs with a great defensive line, and nobody touches the quarterbacks. That was weird. But then back to the Dak situation, he's due up for an extension at the end of the year. Jerry Jones is a businessman. And he understands, like, hey, man, look, this dude is turning the ball over in the playoffs. Swift, you got him in the top 10. He turned the ball over when it matters. Who are you when it matters? And so what the 49ers then did is they went the opposite direction. We're going to get pennies on the dollar for the quarterback position because the system, okay? The system that he's in, and he's throwing to Deebo Samuels, George Kittles, hanging off Christian McCaffrey. All they got to do is just don't turn the ball over. See what I'm saying? And so they're trying to go to win the Super Bowl the opposite way, a la the Baltimore Ravens with Joe Flacco and that all-world defense that beat the 49ers. Joe Flacco was not Tom Brady. He was not Phillip Rivers. He was Joe Flacco. So the Niners are trying to get it that way versus paying a quarterback while struggling to pay everybody else. And so I just think the league, man, is very weird now today, because you're not getting your return on these high-priced quarterbacks you're paying. Like, you're not getting – Mahomes got all the jury right now. So he's the guy.
Most def.
Yeah, and I mean, we're seeing that all the time in sports, where one team develops a system, and then it's a copycat league. I mean, like, you're seeing it in baseball with the use of starting pitchers, and I mean, like RC saying to the tune of running backs. I mean, hey, back in the 80s, I mean, between Emmitt Smith and Barry Sanders, Thurman Thomas, I mean, the list goes on and on. I mean, these days, I mean, is the running back position even worth any value at all? I mean, yeah, but I guess it does take one to develop into a championship formula, and is our team's going to follow on that if that was to happen? I mean, definitely remains to be seen. Swift, we did talk about the Niners, and I can't keep going without giving you a chance to talk about your Saints.
All right.
And I mean, hey, Derek Carr is leading the ship in New Orleans now. Do you think New Orleans may get back to Super Bowl like they did with Drew Brees?
I don't know about Super Bowl, but definitely playoffs. I think our schedule is favorable. Our division is setting us up for winning it. I mean, I'm just going ahead and call it if y'all don't mind. I feel like we're going to win the division, but I'll just say this. We only go as far as Dennis Allen takes us. He made some questionable moves today with his roster cuts. So I'm still kind of weary of him as a coach. But if everything clicks with Derek Carr, this team is, the sky's the limit with them. Our backfield's loaded. Kendra Miller, the rookie coming from TCU. Of course, Alvin Kamara, Jamal Williams, then our wide receivers, Mike Thomas back. He looked good to me. I don't know about y'all, but he looked good to me. So I'm taking him in fantasy. So it's like, and of course, our defense we know how them guys are. So this team is well rounded. The only question mark I do have is the O-line. Pete, our starting guard, looked horrible in the preseason. He was getting beat by backups. So he might not win the position. So it just our O-line, man, when you watch our team, we give up pressure through the gut. So our guards are killing us. And as a team like 49ers see this, our Eagles seeing this, then we done for. Any team that have a good D-line and they can just create pressure with four people, it's over for us. We not winning the game. So we have to fix that problem immediately in order to take the next step to be a Super Bowl team. That's why I say. And then Allen, if he do horrible this year, I'll start a petition to get him fired. Say that.
Neel, if there was a team that was a sentimental favorite, I think last season would be Buffalo, especially with what took place in Cincinnati with Damar Hamlin, of course. And for me personally, the fact, there was a lot riding on the Bills last season to make it back to the Super Bowl for the first time in 30 years, but they did fall short. And of course, the season before, with that incredible back and forth with the Kansas City Chiefs, and that final drive there. Very quickly, your thoughts on the upcoming year?
Actually, I'm excited, man. And to be honest, I feel better about this season than I did about last season. We were the odds-on Vegas favorites to win the Super Bowl last season at this time last year. I think that really when the Bills really got the hype train going, believe it or not, is when we lost that divisional game to that ultimate classic playoff game to Mahomes and the Chiefs. Even though we went to the AFC Championship the year before, it was that game, I think, that really put us on the map and got everyone paying attention to how good Josh Allen was, how he played in that game, how good our team was. And then we were the Vegas favorites, and really nothing went right last year. You talk about overhyping a team and underperforming the outcome. We had a number of injuries to key players. Josh Allen was not right for the second half of the season after that injury he got in the Jets game. Von Miller, big signing, he was out. Micah Hyde, all-pro safety, out. Tre'Davious White, all-pro cornerback, missed half the season. Coming off a big injury, he's not going to be at 100%. Well, other than Von Miller, we got a healthy team right now. We got healthy superstars littered up and down the offense and the defense. And the big thing, some of the other things you can see that happened, the Damar Hamlin injury. As unfortunate as that was, there's not an NFL fan out there, Bills or otherwise, that's not inspired by the fact that this guy's out on the field smiling, having fun, wants nothing to do but to play football again, which is what he's going to do. And he's looking good in camp too, from what I'm seeing. And, people may talk about, Stephon Diggs is disgruntled. Man, who cares? He's a gamer. He's a baller. Some of the greatest wide receivers in the history of this game got that diva factor. They must have it, it's like, to be great. It's part of their greatness. T.O., you go up and down the list, man. They all got a little bit of it in him. And he's just showing that dog in him, in my opinion. He don't like the losing, and he just wants to give a little bit of that attitude to say that I'm not a passive guy. He already said Bills Nation to the end. He said it. I'll believe him. And I think that all of the hardships we went through last year, combined with the fact that the Jets and the Dolphins are getting a lot more of the attention this offseason. So we're not getting the hype like we did last season. We got too much hype last offseason. We're getting very little now. We had expectations last season. We have very little now. There's a lot of haters and a lot of doubters coming out the woodwork. I think with that combined with our health, we got a tough schedule. We play Philly, we play KC. We got a really tough division. But I think that if we can maintain our health, then what we're going to achieve this year is going to make up for the underwhelming season that we had last year. That's my opinion. That's my opinion.
I'll see you in the Super Bowl, brothers. Bills, Niners, Super Bowl.
Oh, for sure. I think that's a strong possibility.
Yes, indeed.
Just got to stay healthy. Our teams get injured a lot.
That's right.
And the 49ers just got to get a quarterback, and then that'd be all right.
I love it, man. I love it.
Guys, I'd love to take things over to the hard court and talk a little basketball. And maybe it might be a little premature to be talking about basketball in August, but when you have the World Cup taking place in Japan, Indonesia, and Philippines, then definitely worth having a discussion, especially when you have 4 guys on a round table where 2 are from Canada and 2 are from the United States. And I mean, obviously, it is a little bit difficult to watch the World Cup. The time zone is what it is. And I mean, hey, basketball in an international sense, it's a little bit tilted in the USA's favor. But, you know, I do have to ask, and RC, I'll start with you. I mean, are you a fan of the World Cup of basketball? I mean, when you think about international ball altogether, I mean, what are the first thoughts that come to your head?
The Dream Team. I grew up watching the Dream Team. When I think about what's going on right now, I want to say this, man. I think the best players in the world are no longer the United States players. The best players in the NBA right now are foreign players. The American-born players aren't the best players anymore. And I'm gonna explain why. Your Giannis Antetokounmpo, your what's the guy that plays for Denver?
You have Nikola Jokic, you have Luka Doncic,
Joker. Yeah. You got Embiid. Those names are up for the MVP every year. They are not American-born players. And right now the league is changing. Luka is one of the top players in the league now. If you did of course, if you put all of the American-born players on the team and you sent them to play in the World Cup, of course they would win it. But when you talk about in the NBA right now, the foreign players are running the league. They're up for all the major awards, and it's changing because of the attitude and the energy. I think some of the American-born players right now just like the lifestyle that comes along with being in the NBA, and the foreign players are at their neck. They got their foot on their neck, and Joker put on a show in the finals and showed a lot of the guys if you don't play at this level, you're gonna get smashed, you can get dominated. And so I love basketball. I've been watching some of what's been going on. I think Anthony Edwards is being showcased as one of the better players. And you know, it's just good, man. This is my favorite time of the year.
Yeah, and I mean, Swift, RC makes a solid point in the sense that maybe international players individually are, tops in the league, but in a team perspective, you have to think that USA would totally dominate. I mean, you have a team currently at the World Cup, which includes Walker Kessler and Bobby Portis, and I mean Austin Reeves is
say who?
And I mean, yeah, sure. LeBron and KD are in their late 30s, but I mean, this is a team that doesn't include those two, and you could think very easily that those two would dominate along with a Devin Booker, Ja Morant, and the list goes on and on, especially in the U.S. I did want to bring it back to especially when RC was talking about the Dream Team, and you think about 1992, you think about the amount of time that people like LeBron, KD, Kobe, I mean, everybody was just really amazed apparently at when you saw the Redeemed Team doc. And I'm assuming that the 3 of you have seen it.
Yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah. I mean,
I was about to say, I used to wake up early to watch the Redemption Team. That's how exciting the USA team was. So with the USA team, I think a lot of people just watching the box scores. I ain't even heard too much hype about the players. We know they can ball, whatever. Jalen Brunson, Anthony Edwards, everybody comparing him to D-Wade. But I think it'd be a little bit more exciting if we saw all our star players like Booker, KD,
you think it would be exciting? Sorry to cut you off here because I mean, if LeBron, KD, Booker were playing in this tournament. I mean, hey, good for you guys, but I mean, I think it would just be an absolute whitewash, and USA kill it.
You see what they're doing right now? They talking about world champions. They saying NBA ain't no world champions. They just regular champions. So yeah, I mean, put them up, make them shut up by putting them all our stars in there. Like,
I do believe that if you did a USA versus the world, that USA would lose. And the reason why I say that is because the foreign players play the game how the American-born players used to play. They have that passion and that drive. You look at Nikola Jokic and Giannis winning a championship in the NBA and the way they did it. It was team-oriented. The ball moved. NBA players right now, it's a lot of isolation. You know, they're concerned about getting paid and how they look. The game has changed to the point to where they allow them to travel. You can't. It's just different. So I think that by me and I love, you know, the American-born players, but they don't have the passion of the foreign-born players. I am a fan of Joker and Giannis right now. They playing like the players I grew up watching, the American-born players I grew up watching.
So, RC, you rather watch this team right now or a team that made up of LeBron, KD, Booker, and all them guys?
I'm with my guy Randy. It wouldn't be fair. I wouldn't watch it because
that's what the redemption team was. You had LeBron, Kobe, D Wade, AD.
But I mean, to be fair, Swift, they didn't win it in. Well, it was Athens. It was 2004. Yeah. But I mean, Redeem Team was in 2012.
That wasn't a dream team level team though. They were putting together a bunch of guys. They had hubris. They had this ego about their team. They didn't prepare properly. They didn't respect the other teams in that particular tournament. They had guys like Carlos Boozer. They had, that was not a real team. The teams that had Kobe on them, when Kobe was leading the Redeem Team 28 and 2012, man, those were real teams. Those were the dominant teams that you want to see. And my opinion on this is that, look, the Dream Team did so much for international basketball. All these guys, Luka, Jokic, all the international stars, in some butterfly effect through the years, the Dream Team had some effect on them, their coaches, their teammates, something that helped to elevate them to the level that they got. Something that now, I think, to hop on what these guys have been saying, American-born players will always be the best. But the ball IQ that these foreign stars got is above and beyond any of the young guys in the NBA. You got some young guys. I will point out a couple names like Tyrese Halliburton, for example. He's got impeccable game. He's got the fundamentals. He's got IQ that sometimes I think is a little elevating his actual athletic skill set. Whereas you guys got Anthony Edwards, guys like that who came in and now he's building the IQ to match his athleticism. And it's a beautiful thing to watch. But I think that you got to stack the teams because if the Goliath is not making its presence felt, all these Davids out there ain't going to step up their game either.
Right. That's awesome. Yeah, you're right.
You got to compete.
And don't forget about Shai Gilgeous-Alexander on those foreign lists. He's a future league.
So listen, Neil, I honestly believe, man, that evolution is happening and we're taking a turn and when it comes to the NBA, by the Dream Team doing what they're doing and impacting so many people globally, those guys, those foreign players, they've been playing professional a lot longer and they have a hunger and they want to, Giannis worked out with Kobe. It's like, it's just different, man. It's like, and if the American-born players don't bring it back in, it's going to be a foreign game. It's already a foreign game. They're playing a foreign style of basketball. But it's really going to be dominated by the foreign players.
Absolutely.
And RC, you completely took my thunder when because when I hopped on your show yesterday, I flirted the idea of a format where USA would be challenged, and it was in fact USA versus the world. I mean, you talked about the names that you talked of with Jokic, Doncic, Antetokounmpo, and of course with Shai, Jamal Murray, RJ Barrett. I don't know if you two have heard of this Victor Wembanyama kid out of France, but they're talking about him being the next LeBron. I mean, and the list goes on, and I would just love to see that kind of format, but maybe one of these days FIBA will get something together because I think it would just be fantastic. And more importantly, I think the LeBrons and the KDs and everybody else who's not at this tournament will do everything possible to make
Get
it
there.
to USA versus the world.
You know what would be an alternate idea to that, just to piggyback on this? Maybe like a regional thing where it's not just the USA, but you bulk the USA and Canada, then you bulk all of Europe, or you bulk all of Asia, or something of that nature. You'd have strong teams across the board. Now, I think would be very interesting. If you just put the entire world against one country,
perhaps. I mean,
it sort of still feels to me like you're calling the one country the superior thing.
Neel, here's the issue: load management. The Americans
killing us, bro. Kawhi.
Would Kawhi show up? Would LeBron show up?
I forever loved Kawhi. He can load manage all he wants for me, because he did something great for our team that no one can replicate.
He did.
Man.
Yeah, load management definitely started here in Toronto for sure. But
I wish I had some load management in my job.
Yeah, we all do.
I don't feel like coming into work today. Load management.
Yeah.
100%.
But Neel, obviously there are some exciting times in our country with what has taken place in the World Cup. Of course, a dominating performance against France, a perennial favorite to win this tournament, and they just coasted. I mean, they had a bit of a challenge against Latvia, you could say, but still they were 3-0 after group play. I mean, hey, I don't know if RC and Swift are aware of this, but Canada's men's basketball team hasn't made the Olympics since 2000, and that has weighed a lot on basketball fans. I mean, the fact of the matter is, however, Jamal Murray is not a part of the Canadian team. Of course, coming off of ACL injury a couple years ago, a long stretch winning the championship this past season. I mean, because Canada is doing so well in this tournament, I'm assuming that you're not as disappointed in Jamal Murray not being in the World Cup, or are you?
Yeah. Well, I'm definitely disappointed, but the disappointment is heavily outweighed by the pride and the happiness I'm getting from seeing the success that the guys that are there are having. And I mean, hopefully, I mean, the apex version of our team would include Jamal Murray and Andrew Wiggins. There's other Canadians out there that are up and coming. You got the Shaden Sharp kid from Portland. You got Benny Mathurin from the Pacers. These guys are still too young, I think. But Murray and Wiggins would be an essential piece if we were to make the Olympics, in order to make a run at the Olympics next year. And I think we would if we had both those guys in the team we currently have. But you know what? It's almost like what the Dream Team did for international basketball is sort of what Vince Carter did for Canadian basketball. Mm-hmm. And Vince Carter, you talk about the last time we made the Olympics, 2000. That's when Vince Carter came up in Toronto. That's when all of what he has done, the butterfly effect of Vince Carter's reign in Toronto. His legacy is not based on wins and losses. His legacy is based on influence. And he influenced Canadian basketball, Toronto basketball. All these kids that you see on Canada's team right now were in large part growing up like I was, like we were in Toronto with that Vince Carter. Really bringing a superstar basketball, like that high energies, like highlight reel basketball that just snowballed into something great, which is starting now to show the effects. And we're starting to get respect as an international power because we got a young team, we got guys who are gamers, and I just don't see us really stepping off anytime for the next 20 years more.
Man, I'm going to piggyback on that. I really was heartbroken when they got rid of Vancouver Grizzlies. That uniform, you talking about the Raptors uniform, I'm talking about the actual retro Raptors, retro Vancouver Grizzlies. Them was some sharp-looking uniforms. I like the whole – I just wish they would have kept it the way it was, them in the Seattle Supersonics staying in the league. And you're exactly right about Vince Carter and Damon Stoudemire and Marcus Camby and Tracy McGrady. So yeah, man, that was an awesome time.
Yeah, awesome man, time. It was very sad with the Grizzlies guy, man. For Vancouver with Big Sean and Country Boy Sean,
big country.
Yeah, big country. Come
big
on,
country.
man.
Big Country and Mike Bibby and
Sharif Abdul-Rahim.
Yeah, Mike
Bibby.
Bibby.
Yeah.
Mike Bibby, that's a throwback right there.
Bibby.
Well, I'm sorry, guys. I apologize but there was actually a great doc. There was a great doc called The Grizzly Truth. I don't know if it made it over to the US, but it was this feature on that run with Vancouver, and this the documentarian actually got an interview with Steve Francis, and it was. Did you guys have you guys heard of this doc?
Yeah, I've heard about it. I didn't like the fact that Steve Francis did what he did. I wanted him to play for the Grizzlies so I can get that uniform. The one I had was Bibby, and I loved it, and I wish I could get it again. I'm probably gonna get me one because I love that.
They had him in Hibbits. They had him in Hibbits.
Yeah, well, you know what? I had to go and get a couple of pieces here, so I got the Grizzlies hat. And this sweatshirt is, to me, is really sleek. I'm a real fan of the. Well, first I showed the Grizzlies hat there, and this is a montage, like an homage to that Grizzlies and the fact that they did spend the first 6 years in Vancouver. And
but you know what's crazy? There are no Grizzlies in Memphis. It don't go. It don't fit. It's like New Orleans.
Memphis like Grizzlies.
The Utah
there's no Jazz in Utah.
Right. You know how John acting. They need to move the Grizzlies back to Vancouver.
Yeah, I know Canada. We don't have. We're not. We don't have the Second Amendment in Canada. Like not a lot of people have guns up here. You know, guys. Very quickly, I did want to touch on the in-season tournament, and you know, this is a new dynamic, of course, that the NBA has installed for the upcoming season. You know, Swift, you know, love to get your initial thoughts on this in-season tournament, and do you think it's going to fly?
The NBA always doing something just to bring fans in to make it more exciting. I'm not a real big fan of it. It just, I know they're trying to create competition, but come on, guys, like just stick to your regular format. It had all this changing up. And it just feels like it's throwing fans off, first of all. They're like, what's in-season tournament? So how this going to play out? How this going to work? And all this type of jazz. And I just think it's creating a lot more confusion than anything. I know probably some teams are probably excited about it because they get, you know, better seating or whatever. But in my opinion, it's just too much.
You know, I got to. So I'm sorry, Neil, please go ahead.
No, I agree. It seems gimmicky right now. But you know, I thought that same thing about the play-in tournament, and to be honest, I thought now looking back, I thought the play-in tournament was a fantastic idea. It really is something I enjoy watching. A couple of Game 7 type feeling games even before the playoffs get started. It vibes with me, and obviously the way that Miami was in the play-in tournament, almost lost, and then came up and went right to the finals off of that. You know, the edge that it gave them to go into that Milwaukee series, having already had some playoff level battles, I think that really helped them. But, you know, so I will reserve judgment for at least a year, but it does seem gimmicky, I'll be honest. And I hope that, you know, teams are motivated to really, you know, win it, to be honest.
I mean, I think that, sorry, RC, please go ahead.
I believe in simplicity, bro. I believe there was nothing wrong with the way Michael Jordan, that era of basketball in the 90s, there was nothing wrong with that format and the way it was set up. I feel it feels a lot like the college basketball setup. These guys, if you gotta motivate a guy in season, like, cause they're gonna get extra money for playing in this tournament, right? They get like a bonus. It's an incentive. Yeah. That's alarming to me. That's alarming to me. That's the whole low management issue. That you having to create formats inside of a format and come up with all these different ideas. The NFL does not have an in-season tournament. The baseball doesn't have an in-season tournament. Keep it like it is. It's just the NBA being proactive, and I understand they want to provoke change and do all these different things, but we don't watch until playoffs anyway. I mean, I watch some of it, but I don't just watch. I used to get league pass, not anymore. Them games are sleeper. Them games put me to sleep now.
It's because of the players. They trying to get them to go out and play. That's y'all fault for cutting cuddling these players. I mean, they getting paid millions of dollars to go play basketball. So that's why I say it's kind of like off-putting to me that they gotta do this just to make their league competitive. Like that's very strange and weird that you gotta do all this for players to get hype. Come on now.
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely with you on that, Swift. But I mean, if there is an opportunity for, teams who are at the bottom of the regular season conference, like in the conference standings and so on, that if by some fluke that they are doing well in the in-season tournament, why not have somebody to cheer for? I mean, like for somebody who's a soccer fan, and especially Toronto FC, I mean, they have these international tournaments, Champions League, where they're playing teams in Mexico and other parts of Central America. And I mean, obviously with soccer and club football, soccer, it's a tradition, with Champions League in Europe, and they play teams in England and Spain, and Barcelona plays Bayern Munich, and blah, 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 goes on and on. RC, you were talking about there's no in-season tournament football. I mean, number one, I mean, how can you? I mean, like these people are actually killing each other every single play. But imagine, I'm gonna put it to you like this: if you cut, say, 3 weeks of spring training baseball and develop an in-season tournament, I mean, I think it would absolutely smash. I think it would be incredible. You're, playing in your home stadium where, you're in front of 30, 40,000 people instead of the 7,000 you're playing at spring training stadiums. I'm calling it. I think people are going to get, especially in 3 years, I think people are going to get hyped for in-season tournament.
But you know why they're going to get hyped for it? It goes back to what I said about the foreign players. The more we can see them, the better it is, because maybe it motivates the American-born players to get on board and be more competitive and be more consistent by the way they play. Because Bam Adebayo is not from America. I mean, a lot of these guys that are emerging are foreign-born players, and it's like maybe it motivates the American-born players to get out of load management mode and on the basketball court and play. Because I think that's the issue, and that's why this has came to the forefront, is our guys are not playing. And you got kids and people coming to see these guys play, and these guys are not available. So maybe this gets them motivated and creates some excitement. So I'm not totally against it. I just think if I got to bring a clown to make you excited about, if I got to put a red nose on, you're excited about my league, it's so long.
Because you can just look at the ratings. Through the whole season is down. Like the ratings don't go up to playoffs. So I guess they like, hey, we got to put more viewers on this and everything. Everything's about money. So they just trying to, get their guys to play and get their viewership up. Because right now it's bad.
Honestly, taking business out of it, I think the NBA should be like 62 games regular season. Make everything worth more. But that's not a business decision that they could really make, because their bottom line going to suffer. But the product, I feel, would be better, and you wouldn't have all these guys.
But Neel, who's
nights off like they do?
Who's to say, Neel, that instead of you make it to 62 games, who's to say that these players aren't going to play 48? And there's no guarantee. There's no guarantee. There's no guarantee that they're not going to load manage for 62 game season. And I'm being serious.
Yeah. The NBA has a bigger problem. They have a bigger problem. It's who is going to carry the mantle after LeBron James retire. You got a 35-year-old Kevin Durant. You got a 30-something-year-old Steph Curry. Who's next? It ain't gonna be Jokic. It has to be this guy. Who is this guy? And if they don't, and the United States is very prideful, and they want it to be an American-born player. But I keep harping on that because I've never seen a player do what Jokic did in the finals. I've watched Michael Jordan. Of course, I'm talking about an unathletic player whose feet is on the ground. He dominated. He's not flying through the air. He's not doing all this great stuff. He's just fundamentally sound, involving his teammates. And that's the correct way to play basketball. And that's the issue the NBA has now. Who is the next guy?
And And do you see how buck wild Jokic gets when he's partying in Serbia? I mean, he does not have any desire to be in North America.
You like somebody like we lost to that guy. Somebody watch the video right now.
Yeah, I want to see the four of us.
What you doing?
I want to see the four of us party in a club in Serbia. I'm sure all the ladies yell up on us, right, guys?
Well, hey, that's a difference. That's a difference between right there between Nikola Jokic and James Harden. Man, is that James Harden clubs are in America and Jokic clubs are in Serbia. You focus on basketball here.
Harden with 10 cheeseburgers in. Harden have 10 cheeseburgers while Jokic just down a little beer or something like that.
James Harden parties in season, eating honey buns and doing crazy stuff in season.
You got to put out the fat suit. It just, like RC was saying, Jokic, man, it was unbelievable. I believe it was Charles Barkley. He put it like this: said, watching a guy wasn't even looking to score, just getting his teammates involved, still averaging like 20-some points. That's crazy. Like you don't see fundamental basketball like that from a player. And I think that once you see players playing more like Jokic, even Giannis developing his game where he's more, he can be aggressive, but he also can get his teammates involved. I feel like more you see that type of game, I think it enhances the NBA. I think players gonna start like, okay, maybe we need to change it up. Maybe I shouldn't jack up a three as soon as I catch the ball coming up down the court. So it's a great thing to see. I know it's bad for American players, but more of the Europeans and basketball players start playing the game like it should be playing, I think the NBA is better off.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what the future holds for basketball, not only in the United States but in Canada as well. And listen, guys, this has been an absolute blast. I do want to end things off, and Neel knows that usually we end things off with a rapid fire segment. I'm going to change things up because it's not every day that we get to do a roundtable with two cats from the U.S. So I thought to throw down with a little game, and it is emphasis on Canadian sports trivia. All right, so
okay.
So Swift RC, I gotta put you to the test, and Neel, I apologize. Like you're gonna be the spectator.
I'll see myself out.
Yeah, no. But I mean, yeah. Well, hey, who knows? Maybe you might be. Maybe you're not. I don't know. Is it a guarantee that you're going to know every question? We'll definitely wait and see. But
guarantee I won't.
All right, so guys, bear with me a second. It'd be great if I was able to have a producer that was able to set this up. But guys, do you see a question on your screen right now?
All
right. So
yes, we do.
Basically how this is going to work is that I'm going to give each of you two questions apiece, and then we're going to end things off on a fifth question where both of you get to answer the fifth and final question. Okay, so we are going to start with Swift, and we did talk about the Canadian Football League, and whether you did know it or not, there were teams in the U.S. There were Canadian Football League teams in the United States. So Swift, the first question to you is, which American state never had a CFL franchise? Alabama, Texas, Louisiana, or Florida?
I won't say Louisiana because I know a lot of Saints fans from New Orleans, and I hear him talk about CFL franchise. So I'm going to go with Louisiana.
Louisiana. Now, Neel, do you think you know the answer to this question?
I think I definitely do not know the answer, but I'm going to say Texas just as a guess.
So the Barracudas were out of Birmingham in Alabama. The Texans were in San Antonio, and the Pirates were in Louisiana. So the state of Florida did not have a CFL franchise. So
Florida always had the sports teams. Look at the weather down there. Come on.
Yeah, you know what? The first team was in Sacramento, California. And actually, I'll try and pull my helmet. I actually do have a gold miner's helmet. I'll show it to you guys in a second. But
Miners.
so 0 for
so
1,
cool.
0 for 1 Swift. RC, we're going to
Okay,
throw it
okay.
over to you. We're going to throw it over to you,
Oh,
RC.
baby.
So I do apologize, RC, but this is not a football question, but it is a sports question. And 2023 is obviously not an Olympic year, but it will be next year. The games will be in Paris. However, the country of Canada has hosted the Olympics both summer and winter. How many times altogether did Canada host the Olympics? 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, or 6 times?
Do I get Jeopardy music?
No, unfortunately, no. I wasn't able to afford that. I wasn't able to afford that.
Play it in your own head.
Okay, it's in my head now. I'm gonna go with 2 times. I mean, I don't, remember more than 2 times. I mean, it's either 2 or 3, but I'm gonna go with 2.
Neil?
The only 2 I know of are Montreal and Vancouver, and so unless suddenly my brain can think of a third, no, I'm gonna agree with 2.
And Neil is actually you were born in Edmonton, right?
Oh, I don't like where this is going.
Yeah, because down the street in your own province of Calgary, they had the
oh
88
my God,
Olympics.
yes, 88. Oh, no.
I was close.
So 1976 were the games in Montreal, 88 was Calgary, and 2010 was Vancouver. So guys, now the next question is going to be, who am I? I'm going to throw a couple of I'm going to throw statements at you, and we're going to start at 7 points. Okay. As I unveil a new statement, you're going to deduct a point. So just leave it with me. Swift, we're going to start with you, and I'm going to read you a statement. This is of a football player, a prominent NFL football player who did start in the CFL. All right. So first statement. My CFL career began in 1978 with the Edmonton Eskimos, winning the league's most outstanding player award in 1983.
I know this one.
And I'm you might be nervous. You should be nervous maybe, because it looks like RC might
RC don't know. I ain't worried. Oh man.
I'll give you 5 seconds, and then I'm gonna
Montana.
we're gonna drop the second statement on you. All right.
Yeah.
I won the Grey Cup 5 times and was named the game's MVP twice. I'll give you 5 seconds,
Has
and
to be
we'll
a
drop.
quarterback.
Don't Google it.
Yeah, don't be cheating, okay? I don't want no chat GPT on going on us here.
Hey, Alexa.
All right,
I don't know.
I'm gonna go on statement 3. I was a 9-time NFL Pro Bowler between 1988 through 1997.
He should have gave me this, man. Swift don't know this.
Now, sorry, you don't have to get into specifics, but what is the age difference between Swift and RC? Like,
I'm 42.
It's a good amount. It's a good amount.
I'm 42. He's 9 years old.
No, I'm 34.
Okay.
So yeah, this is I don't know, man.
Yeah, I got this. I know who this is.
Neil, how you doing over there?
Oh, I think RC's got the answer, but I think I got it too. I'm gonna let him go for it.
Okay. Statement number 4. I was not drafted in 1978, but made my NFL debut in 1984 with a team that no longer exists.
It's not Warren Moon, is it?
Yeah.
It is Warren Moon.
Oh yes. Yeah.
Warren Moon actually absolutely ran it in Neil's hometown of Edmonton, Alberta, with the Eskimos. He won the Grey Cup 5 times. And RC, you knew that from the get-go, didn't you?
I knew that. I love Warren Moon, man. Like growing up as a kid, Warren Moon was that guy. He was And the thing about Warren Moon that I like, he wasn't an athletic quarterback. He stood in the pocket and played quarterback like they wanted him to play it. And then McNair came after that. So it was like, yeah, I love Warren Moon. Bad man.
Yeah, I caught Warren Moon on the back end of his career because, you know, I was born in '89.
And look, the cool thing about Warren Moon was, check out the number 1 on that jersey, baby. That thing look good.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I love that Oilers helmet.
Oh, yeah, man.
And very quickly, guys, I'd be remiss if I didn't show you the Sacramento Gold Miners helmets. This was
cool.
the first US based CFL team, Sacramento Gold Miners.
That's cool.
Yeah, the US experiment wasn't good at all, but
man, you got everything in that room. I need to up my game.
I'm definitely gonna up mine. You inspired me.
All right, so Swift, if I'm not mistaken, I think you were down to your 4th statement. So I'm going to give you 3 points. Okay. So
okay, thank you.
Now it's
for some reason we said it wasn't an NFL team no longer exists, and yeah, I forgot about Warren Moon that he played in the CFL. So
yeah.
They helped me out.
All right, RC, it's time for you. Let's get it going. My CFL career began in 1990 with the BC Lions, ending my career with the Toronto Argonauts in 1997. I'll give you 5 seconds and I'll release the second statement.
Quarterback?
Might be a running back. Might be a tight end.
All right.
Is it Doug Flutie?
Sorry?
Doug Flutie?
Wow. Man, I came up with a lot of good statements as well, and it was Doug Flutie. Well done.
I love sports. I love sports. So I love this type of stuff.
Good for you guys. Good for you. So listen, last question that I did develop. Now, Neel, did you think it was Doug Flutie?
Oh, I knew that. Yeah.
Well, yeah. Was it too obvious? You know, kind of.
This one was more obvious than the Moon question, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Swift, do you think
it took me a couple statements to get to Moon?
Yeah, I feel like
I got Flutie off this one.
Yeah.
I remember Doug Flutie, but
because he's a Buffalo, because he's a Bill. He went to Pro Bowls with the Bills too. You know.
Yeah, one of my statements was, I was on the bench when the Music City Miracle happened. But anyway, I'm not I'm not bitter. Guys, I just completely flaked on the last guy. I hope you didn't see it, but let me see if I can get myself back here. Well, I'll just ask you the question right now. The first ever NBA game was in the city of Toronto, and it was against the New York Knicks. What was the team name of that team in Toronto? What was the team name?
The Toronto team?
Yeah. You got the Huskies, the Canadians, the Mounties, or the Wolverines?
The Huskies.
You know your stuff.
Yeah, you guys definitely rocked it. Swift, did you have any idea?
Nah, I didn't.
It was a white and blue jersey. Was that Husky jersey white and blue?
That's
blue
right.
White?
Yes, it was. Yes, it was. Perfect.
And honestly, part of me thinks they should have just named the Raptors the Huskies right off the get-go. No?
Yeah. Yeah.
I like them.
I don't know.
But listen,
I get why.
It could just be that I was littered and made fun of by all my friends, American friends, by sending me Barney memes. Doing the championship, it all stopped after Kawhi came. But before that, man, the amount of Barney memes I would get every year when we flopped, when LeBron toe would come up and all that stuff.
Yeah, but you know what? I mean, is there a jersey that's a retro jersey that's more hype than Vince Carter's retro jersey?
Not too many.
No, not too many.
Yeah,
man, I'm gonna share this with y'all real quick. I love the trivia stuff, man. I actually have a nephew who's the same way, and we are fanatics. We love sports, and so therefore, when you did that, man, listen, my antennas went up because I watch a lot of stuff on sports. I actually, educate myself on it. So I know when I get on these shows or I'm talking to anybody, I'm not just throwing stuff to see if it'll stick on the wall. So I enjoyed that.
No, hey, it was definitely the pleasure was ours. Listen, this has been an absolute blast. You know what I mean? Obviously, we are physical neighbors, Canada and the United States, but there definitely is a lot of differences, and sports-wise, especially. And to talk football and basketball, obviously, cut it up with a couple of great guys like yourselves. Really hope that we could do it again. To RC and to Swift, I really appreciate you both. Thank you so much.
We have to bring y'all guys on our show one day,
Hey, when you guys have a hockey episode or something, I'm in.
We working into a span right now. We probably gonna pick up baseball next year. Soon as the season ends, because a lot of people been asking for baseball, and I love hockey. I never told y'all this, but my favorite teams are Anaheim Ducks. I don't know y'all ever seen the movie The Mighty Ducks.
Mighty Ducks.
Yeah, so that would make me like the Ducks. I watched the Mighty Ducks. I'm like, hey, I'll root for the real team.
Well,
that's my little origin story for hockey.
So I was a Wayne Gretzky fan growing up. I loved Wayne Gretzky growing up because Wayne Gretzky was one of those guys. He was one of those superstars: Bo Jackson, Michael Jordan, Wayne Gretzky. So I gravitated to the LA Kings. But I also like the New Jersey Devils. And as I get into hockey, I'm starting to move around. But the thing about the Canadian-based teams, the Blue Jays, and there was this guy that played baseball, Montreal Expos, by the name Vladimir Guerrero. And that's my all-time favorite baseball player. And that's another team, when they moved them, I was broken up, man, because I love Vlad. So Montreal Expos is another one of my favorite teams.
No, I mean, obviously, Montreal was in bad shape. I mean, the stadium was a disaster. It was nowhere near
Olympic Stadium.
Yeah, oh my God, it was so hideous. I mean, that place, and I mean, Montreal never had built a legit stadium. They still use the Big O, and it's literally falling apart.
Correct me if I'm wrong, though, but I think the Expos were actually one of the favorites to win the World Series the one year. Then they had a lockout.
1994.
Year, and they sort of just,
1994. Pedro Martinez was on the team.
Pedro Martinez, yeah.
And he wasn't the ace. He was not the ace. Yeah.
Moses Alou.
Larry Walker. That team would have done something for sure, but then they couldn't afford to keep him the next year, and then then it just was downhill ever since. But I mean, honestly, between basketball, I'm big into soccer, baseball. I mean, hey, I got my Jays jersey on, hoping that they can make the playoffs. But I mean, with regards to baseball and basketball for the state of Mississippi, what teams does the state follow pro wise?
So listen,
Braves.
We get to pick whoever the hell we want to. I call it Oblivia. By us being in Oblivia, in the middle of nowhere in the South, we get to go. That's why all my teams, most of them are California-based teams, and then also, being that, I'm a Michigan Wolverine fan. So for college football, so it's we have the luxury of, we don't have a pro team, so we get to pick
everything.
Yeah, we just.
But a lot of people like the Braves down here, the Atlanta is not too far away from us. So, actually, the guy on our show, our other co-host Taylor Gatwood, he's a big Braves fan. Yeah, and I actually got tons of friends that Braves fans. So you might see a little bit of Cubs fan too. Cubs, Yankees fans are everywhere.
Mm-hmm. I'm a Giants fan. I like the Giants.
And is it basketball? I'm guessing that the Pelicans are the closest one geographic-wise.
Yeah, Pelicans. I think there's a lot of Lakers fans in Mississippi.
Yes. Lakers, Cowboys, 49ers, Saints. And see, the thing about, and he's a Saints fan, he's a Pelican fan, he likes the Pelicans. Most of my family are Saints, Cowboys, Niners. I was not going to be a Mississippi State, a Ole Miss, a USM. Those teams sucked when I was growing up. Be honest, the Saints sucked. There was no Pelicans, so my thing was I had to look to the West Coast and the East Coast, and because the teams that I was growing up watching sucked. And I mean, as you a kid, you go into the grocery store, you're picking the best cereal. If your mom say get what you want, you're not going to get great value cereal. You're going to get Frosty Flakes. And Ben is in the grocery store picking great value cereal.
Ooh.
And he picked the things because they were sucking when he liked it.
Man.
So I'm not that loyal. I'm not that. I'm gonna say this. At that time when I was picking my teams, all my teams were really good. I was just a kid and I stayed with them.
Yeah.
So that's the luxury
A lot
of
of
being
Steelers fans down here too. A lot of Steelers fans too. Yeah, Steelers.
Okay, fair enough. Well, hey, I mean, if the Raptors ever do anything again, hopefully there'll be a soft spot for Toronto. Neil,
I haven't met not
You
one
guys,
Toronto
you guys ever
fan
come
in
up here? Let's go.
Mississippi.
We'll go to a game. 100%.
yeah, hey,
Yeah. Oh yeah. Hey, come on, RC.
Listen, when the Raptors won the championship, we all celebrated because it ended a dynasty that we all got tired of watching. And I was saying this about Kawhi Leonard. He should go down in history as one of the greats because not only did he win it in Toronto, he also dethroned LeBron. Remember that year he won the MVP and the claw, he locked up LeBron. Yeah. That guy, if he's not battling those injuries, he could be the next guy, but he just stay injured. But he's a legend. It should put
something, man. He had the best year of his career in Toronto, bar none, and I don't think he's going to have another year like that the rest of his career.
So he should have stayed in Toronto. Yeah.
He had a Michael Jordan-like playoff run that year for us. It was very Michael Jordan.
Yeah, he's just been so snake bitten in LA. I mean, it's unfortunate to see. It really is.
All that load management.
Neil, really appreciate you. Thanks so much for joining me once again.
Yeah, man. Thank
y'all for having us. Thank you.
Pleasure meeting you guys, man.
So we'll talk soon.
Yeah, most definitely. For Neel Katarey, Ben Swift Reynolds, and Ronnie RC Clark, my name is Randy Katarey. This is What's Up the Sports Podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. Hope you're doing well and keeping safe. We will talk to you next time.